trying to see. This is a new one for me. Hey, look, looks like I'm live. Let me make sure the link is updated on the webpage. And for those of you watching, sorry if this is a little rougher than normal. We're going to pretend it is the zombie apocalypse and I am the last developer alive. That's because we gave everybody today off, so I'm the only developer actually in the office. And I'm starting this a little bit early here, so give me a moment to get things set up. Let me see if my Twitch chat here. Can you guys hear me? I'll wait for a response over there. Yep. Can you hear me? All right, getting the windows. Okay, good. Sounds like people can hear me. Sounds like everything is glorious and happy. I'm gonna get a few more things set up here. All right, and I think people will be filtering in here. So I'm actually not alone. You want to come introduce yourself here? No.
I have to.
Yep.
I'm Rosemore. That's it.
Good job.
Yeah. Man of many words.
So first off, let me thank everybody for joining me. I think we are now officially live, so I can actually start talking to you guys. Oh, look, Rosie. And I guess the phrase is going to be, it's cold outside. I'll verify that with the other people. But I believe that is the phrase we're using today. It's cold outside is the phrase. All right. Now it's 4 o'clock. Okay, so officially starting here. Thank you all for joining me for this very special post-Christmas, pre-New Year, everybody else out of the office, post-zombie apocalypse style developer stream. I am Chris Spears, also known as Atos, and this is going to be an Ask Atos Anything, AAA, AAA. That's going to be the quality level too. So first off, we got some exciting stuff here to do, which is, what's wrong with that whiteboard? That's all wrong. Wrong. We are gonna, first off, Elven Shogun Obsidian bundles expire. That was last time. That's gone. 54,000, that was also last time. We are now at 71, headed to 72. We are $3,215 away from the next stretch goal, which is a black ice staff and a wand. I know there's a lot of people out there who want wands and staves to be awesome. I can't promise that'll happen next release, but I can promise if you make this stretch goal, they will look awesome. So today I have no one collecting questions for me, so I'm doing it all myself. As I mentioned, the zombies killed. You want to try? Rosemore's going to try to collect questions. Didn't bring a laptop?
Oh no, my phone.
Hold on, 1 second, folks.
Well organized.
Let me get a document up for you. Again, this is the post-apocalyptic stream where we're pretending all the other developers are dead.
We're professionals.
We are professionals. We do not panic just because things are not going great. So there's questions. If you want to watch on your phone, you can.
Oh, I can't get my phone to work.
Oh, you can't get your phone to work? Apparently the zombies also took out the phone network around here. Things are getting grim. And yes, I have a confirmation that it's cold outside is the phrase. So a few more things to update. I think we're down to the last, I think 34 signed boxes. We did that run of 200 boxes. If anybody wants a signed box, we are shipping those out as we get the order. So you're too late to make Christmas. But if you get your order in now, it should be within the next week or so. We're actually caught up on most shipping. The office is finally walkable again, and we still have some more to go, but mostly the ones left are some of the European ones. So apologies on those, but we did get all the US ones out, except for also some that require some signatures from Richard. Richard will be in the office on the 7th. He missed a bunch of signatures, and we're getting those taken care of. So today is going to be, as I mentioned, Ask Atos Anything. I've got a bunch of questions that came in last time, and I've got more that I'm taking now and took earlier today. And so let me get started on some questions. First question from players. This is one I've seen a lot, and I completely understand the confusion with it, which is, what do the points on the dungeons mean? We sell some, if you go into the store, we sell some dungeon entrances that are, the real thing you're buying is the cool entrance, which is because if you want to get people to your dungeon, you got to have a cool entrance to attract them. So that's the big thing you're buying. The other thing that comes with it is we give you some sample dungeons. I believe those are still on, that show you about the size that it's going to be. You also get the blueprints that you need if you wanted to construct that sample dungeon yourself. As people have pointed out, they were not too happy about. I thought we did a good job communicating, but apparently not. The thing you get from those are the blueprints, not the actual finished dungeon pieces, which means that you do need to bulk up and go carry a bunch of granite and craft them yourselves. Just think of all the crafting experience. I consider it a bonus. You get crafting experience, tons and tons. But anyway, so what the points mean, that does not mean how many points you can have in your lot. The way dungeons work is the size of the dungeon is based first on the lot size, and then based on how much more you expand it. I have not checked to see what the biggest dungeon is in game right now. I'm sure it's still Tazar, as they have a guild effort where they've been expanding with gold and some with the crowns as well. But it's well over 1,000 point dungeon. I think it was like 1,400 or 1,500 last I looked. But I forget the exact sizes. But if you have a row lot, is it maybe 75 or 100 points as the base, and then you can expand it from there. But the point size on the dungeons that we sell, that does not mean you get that size. That tells you how many points that dungeon, the sample dungeon is, and how many points of blueprints you get with it. So now that we actually have the blueprints in game, that probably we should go back and update the information on that. And I lost my Twitch. There's my Twitch chat. I'm gonna have to open. I need more monitors. 3 is not enough. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Skaggy Media, I see, got a signed box in the UK. Yeah, we did get a lot of the boxes out to EU. We did not get all of the boxes out. We got all the boxes out to the US that were, except for a handful that we just are missing parts for, that we're going to get shipped, taken care of on the 7th. But the vast majority of them have been done. Let me point out into the office. I'm going to do something since it's the zombie apocalypse version, because there's no one here. I'm going to point the camera, take it off the stand, and point it out into the office so you can see how empty it is. And the part that's critical there is, see anything missing? There's only a handful of boxes left. Oh, can't quite see there. There are also people missing there, but that's okay because the zombies killed them all. All right. Let's see. I'm getting a bunch of questions coming in here. And yeah, you can just add those to the top. First off, everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy everything. No reason to leave anybody out. I did have a great Christmas. Had a few people ask, but yeah, and I'm with you today because as a Christmas parent or present to my parents, when we went up to Waco for Christmas, we left Maxine with them. She comes back tomorrow, so this is not me taking time away from Maxine. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and start diving into a few more questions, and then I'm going to also talk about later in the show, I'm going to talk about the fire swamp changes and boss behavior in that. And then I'm going to show off some dungeon stuff, and then I'll probably circle back to a few more questions. Let's see. This is I've got a question here from Gia. Hi, Atos. At the moment, the combat movement mechanics is flawed with desync between clients. Even located in the same world regions, movements warps around. So this is something that I was not aware that it was as bad as it is, but this is something we've actually introduced with the changes over the last 2 releases, I believe. It's something that a lot of people don't even know about because it only shows up when you start having 2 clients in distant areas. And this has to do with us moving more of the authoritativeness to the server and also changing how some of the timing works. As people might have known from about 4 releases ago, we had problems with, and well, from 4 releases back to the beginning of time, we had problems with if you were not the first client in the scene, there could be some differences between what you see in creature behaviors and other players and what everybody else would see. This would be the place where this was really obvious was with the troll and dragon and some of the boss types that had tells, because you could see the tell on the first client in the scene, it would be fine because everything's synced to you. Well, we've moved a lot more stuff to the server to make it more authoritative and to fix some of the timing issues as we continue to make stuff. There's still a few disconnect things, but I think when we did that change, which was over the last 2 releases, I think now the actual effect is all synced up, but I think for other players, their animations are now not in sync time-wise. And we need to take a look at that. Again, it's not that noticeable on most clients, but if you have 2 people playing in Europe, you actually get the worst of all worlds because it's double back and forth and it doubles the time. Another thing that we're seeing right now is our co-location center is actually getting packet loss to a good chunk of the world, not everybody, but just some routes that it's picking. There's apparently a switch that is losing some packets and has been for basically 2 weeks from what it looks like from our logs. There's not anything we can really do about that, but again, this is only affecting some players, not everybody. But we will be fixing the animation desync, and there's also another issue that came up when we simplified some of the movement logic, both for performance and reduced the data bandwidth. We actually reduced the number of packets we were sending. I think that probably is contributing to this as well, because the other thing that is some players have reported is other players teleporting when they're not actually teleporting. They're not blinking, but they're actually on screen. They go pop from one spot to another spot to another spot. And that is likely either due to lost packet, and then by the time it does 2 round trips to get back to you again, it's exceeded our threshold for when we quit trying to dead reckon interpolate people to a spot, and instead it just teleports from point to point. But anyways, we have an open JIRA on that, and thanks to Gia for putting together a video that demonstrates that. Again, we do have tools internally to test lags. We can basically set our own ping times. So we will get a good test on that and try to get that cleared up and get that much better going forward. For those people who are in Russia or Europe or the other places, if you're in Russia, you're probably not watching because it is stupid late there. And we all know that game players don't stay up late. Let's see. Is there a plan to improve magical spells? Combat buff styles have different animations. At the moment, the animations are only few and give no visual feedback for what's going on. This is just one of those where we didn't think it was important enough. We spent a lot of time early on trying to make sure that when another player casts a spell, you could tell what spell they were casting just by various VFX. And we used to have, if you remember, that big thing over their head, that disc over their head. And we actually had a lot of players complain about that. That was kind of the tell we were planning. And I agree, we probably should have several variations because most spells don't have their own unique variation. We probably should have some more different casting variations, maybe based on the duration of the cast time and these other type factors. But we do not have that. That is probably one that we should get as a polish item coming up. Just hasn't been on the high priority list. Let's see. Invico asks, I'm going to pull this one out of chat there. Question, is there plans to start to advertise to increase the player base? We have done a few test spins and we have seen boosts. We've seen what we would expect. We know right now for some clarity and openness with players, we know the place where players fall off is for every person we get to our website. It takes about 200 people to get one of those people to install the game. Once we get people in the game, we have really good numbers in terms of retention and keeping players around. We know what the number one complaint is for all players coming in. When any external player, and probably a lot of you see the same complaints if you go to any forums or websites or other things. We know what the number one problem is that drives players away and turns players off towards the game. And we're going to be trying to address that, and hopefully we'll have that addressed by R63, which will mean some big changes for the game. So I won't go into details on what it is they're going to be changing, but probably a lot of you can guess. So there will be some major changes coming, and we will push for a major advertising campaign after that. But until we can improve that, 200 players coming in turns into one trial account. We don't want to spend too much money on advertising. The concurrency has slowly trended up since we did the free-to-play. It actually did a big spike and then it came back down, but it's been slowly trending up since then, with the exception of this last weekend, which we attribute to just being the holiday season, when it's tough to say what players do and trying to figure out, is it going to be higher concurrency or low concurrency? But honestly, let's see, everybody got their new Twitch or their Nintendo Switch. Everybody bought stuff on the Steam sale. Everybody got their Xbox 360, whatever it is, Red Dead Redemption game for Christmas. Basically, it's just a lot of competition, and then also probably 20% of the people in game are at their parents' house, and they can barely pull up web pages and watch Twitch streams on their parents' Wi-Fi, let alone play the game on their 256 meg video card. But things have been trending up slowly. We obviously want more people in there, more than anybody could possibly imagine. We want people in there just like you guys do, but we're trying to be wise about when we bring them in. We don't want to have a 0.5% capture rate in terms of turning those people into actual players. So we will be doing that hopefully in the not too distant future. February is my target date, end of February. So let's see. Next up. One update that I will tell people about now. This isn't a question. This is more just an announcement. For those who didn't know, our servers are not in our office. That would be borderline insane. We do have our servers in a co-location center that is secure and has swipe card access and multiple security and cameras and fire protection and multiple megawatt generators and all that stuff. Sadly, the co-location center we were at was acquired by a new company, and we are being evicted from it, and we were only given less than 60 days notice. So we have to be moved out of the co-location center by the end of January and into a new space, which I now have set up. I finished the paperwork for that today. But anyways, just warning you guys that a few things will be changing. If you had bad ping times before, they might be better in this location. I tried them and it seemed like it was probably a little better from different spots. But other than that, we'll have a 4-hour roughly downtime as we do the migration from one box to another, which we'll schedule once we have all the servers in place and tested. But anyways, just one more thing to spend my time on that I didn't want to spend my time on. Yes, for those who are wondering, the new co-location space is still in Austin. It's just up the road from the office. It's actually a little more convenient. Let's see. Gia also asked, Gia's full of good questions. What about an option for floating damage, player only, group only, all? That's actually a really good idea. That's one of those things, if anybody has done some of these battles with multiple players, really any high level player, it's like multiple players, multiple AEs going off, area effect spells going off. This is one that it's crazy even with one or two people in there doing it for the like the spider boss fighter, the new Kobold stuff I added in with lots of creatures in there. As we're taking advantage of better performance in the AI and letting us have lots more creatures. But the numbers flying off stuff, it's just like a sea of numbers everywhere. And yeah, that would be a good option there because that is one of the higher contributing factors to performance as well. There's all those little flying numbers. You can imagine all the draw calls from those things. We batch them up where we can, but it's one of those things where every frame you got to move and reposition. And anyways, it can be costly and also it is distracting. And yeah, it would be great if we could, if we just set the options so you only see yours, you only see your groups, or you see all. That's a really good suggestion. In fact, I will put that in bold right now. So I can come back and bold and red. Come back and zero that out. Let's see. Light sources get through walls. What about occlusion culling for VFX decos? So we have, with occlusion culling, there's some runtime stuff we could do for occlusion culling, but honestly, all the runtime occlusion culling stuff we've done has shown bad performance. The issue this person is actually talking about is where you, like the big place you see it is you run through town and you'll see light shining from a fireplace out into the alleyway. So one of those performance things that we need to go back and take another pass at to improve the logic behind is when we disable shadows. We only allow a certain number of shadow casting lights and we try to give them a priority. And so what you'll find is you'll be on the street running. There's a light here that has a shadow casting. This one has a shadow casting. You've got your light spell on. Maybe you've got your cloak on or whatever too. We do combine as much as we can on those things. But I think the limit right now is we have it set to 5 shadow casting lights. And so things that are not in the top 5 lights don't have shadows. The shadows are what actually block it from rendering outside of the house. So there is some new stuff that we can use in terms of volume lights that we could be replacing some of these things with, and we might be doing that in the not too distant future because that would improve the visuals on those. But as you can imagine, running through town at any given time, there's 100 lights, and so a lot of them get set to not cast shadows, which lets them cast through walls. Oh, I just spit. Did that show up on camera? Zombie apocalypse. We don't care anymore. So the fireplace light, I've actually experimented with those when you actually don't have line of sight to the fireplace, disabling the light altogether. But it ends up causing even nastier visual artifacts, which is that like you see the light in the house popping on and off, or you walk up to a house and it looks dark, and then you move to look in the window, and all of a sudden it's blaring bright. So again, it's one of those things where we're choosing. In this case, we're choosing performance over visual quality. But yes, there's some other things too, as we get some system improvements going on in the engine that allows for more multi-threaded rendering and improved rendering speed. We can also start looking at turning some of these up. We actually we've been improving the code side of things, and Unity's been improving the inside of things kind of in step. So I think we're getting pretty close to the point where we might be able to go back and turn some of those numbers up or expose them to the players and let the players set what they want them so they can try things out. Oh yeah, there's supposed to be a mega prizing happening, as players were just reminding me. Total amateur hour here. I need to be reminding you guys, if you would like to get in on the prizes, you do not have to buy anything from the store. We want you to buy stuff from the store, but you do not have to buy anything from the store. What you do have to do is either buy something from the store or go into game and say, baby, it's cold outside, or is it just it's cold outside? I think it's cold outside. Yeah, they'll tell you. But that needs to be in game, not in Twitch chat, although people will say it in Twitch chat 100 times here. But go in game and say, baby, it's cold outside, or go to the store and buy something. Go with number 2. Yeah, it's cold outside. I don't think you have to say baby. That's a little sexist, I think. So today we have a guest reader who is going to be reading the prize. So playing the part of Sarah is Rosemorn. Come over here and read these prizes out for us. Here's Sarah. Thank you, Sarah.
I'm nowhere
Why don't you read out these prizes here?
Oh,
Here, I'll do the first one. Ice Building Blocks, 110 pack digital, goes to Synergy Blaze.
2018 Yule Tree goes to Mythical. 2018 Snowman Mask with Mustache goes to Illuminat. 2018 Snow Family goes to Krazuka Oaken Valley.
I love that name.
The Replenishing Fireworks Mega Set goes to Kron Celadon. The Winter Recurring Mega Set goes to Groundskeeper Willie. 2018 Winter Rares Mega Set goes to Engel.
Engel. Thank you very much, Sarah. So that was the prizing. Again, if you want to get in the next one, make sure and say it's cold outside in game, or go buy something at the store and bump that up. Let's see. It's still not quite to 72. You guys are doing poorly there. You're making me look bad here. Let's see. Any chance to implement a visual animation for parry, block, dodge attacks? So this is one we've talked about and actually talked about the implementation for it. It's one of those things, again, that everybody wants to have visual representations for stuff going on. But if you actually look at how the game plays, if it were like a turn-based game, that could be okay. But players are always doing 10 things at a time. And so what we end up doing is we start having too much competition for what animations can be played. And we do have overlay sets, so like the upper body can be doing one thing, the legs doing another thing, so you can be moving and doing whatever. But it gets, when you start adding in like you're attacking, you're moving, and now you also dodge, block, parry, it ends up negatively impacting the animations. We have looked at doing it, though, for when you're not doing anything else and you dodge, block, parry. But again, it's been fairly low priority to get that implemented because that so rarely happens that you're just standing there doing nothing, not attacking, not casting anything, not emoting, and then just all of a sudden I parry. So anyways, it is one of the things we've talked about, but not on the list of high priority stuff right now. Let's see. Invico, is there a way to change the UI to move health bars anywhere on the screen? This has been one of my highest priority things for at least a year or two. I want every health bar to be draggable so you can position things how you want them. This is one of my pet peeves. Is we have to have that. So yes, I will continue to push for that. Again, this is probably the area where we have the most tasks piling up is in the UI refinement, UI improvements. So the guy who's working on it is amazing. That's Wizard Smoke. It's just there's always a million things. People always underestimate the amount of work that goes into UI, even if it is, as people point out, mediocre UI in many cases. Let's see. Will there be fist weapons in the future? What are fist weapons? There's pugilism. I'm not understanding what this question means. Will Bramble receive additional polish in the near future? Oh, this is Inskiz. Will Bramble receive additional polish in the near future? We actually are, as you probably have noticed, we're not making many new maps. We're more going back and polishing the old maps. We're getting through at least 3 or 4 per release. I'll go cover one of the ones that I did this release, so we can check it out. Let's see. How does magic specialization affect summons? Guess what? That's on the schedule for R62 for this release. I've got a number of ideas for what it will be doing. A lot of it will just be, as you would expect, similar to what the taming specialization does, where it just bumps up the power of the thing. There's also some other things, though. I'm looking into enabling some extra attack special stuff for people who have mastered 80 or greater the specialization in the specific school for summoning, so that necromancers, high death magic people, they get some special stuff on their pets. Same thing with the elementals, phoenix, etc. Let's see. I'm going to go down and answer some old ones that we didn't do last time around. Let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to get down to the old ones. Here's an opinion question. Oplek, this is from last stream. Question from last stream. Do dungeons make basements obsolete? I don't think we answered this one. I believe no. We let you have both of them. There are some people who are going to want to have dungeons as just a decorating space that they probably will replace basements, and they won't have a need for a basement and a dungeon. Some of it will go in R62. Hopefully by R63, it'll be to a point where it's actually doable, like meaningful, is players actually making dungeons into dungeons rather than them just being cool basements that you get to design yourself. So once that happens, then players are not going to want to use, many players will not want to use their dungeons as their basements, and they'll go back to basements or where storage stuff, inviting people over for parties, whatnot, and then actually trying to make their dungeons themed and feel like a real dungeon. So again, totally an opinion question, but I believe no. I do believe basements still have a reason, or still have a purpose. Let's see.
That's going crazy about crafting specializations.
Yeah, crafting specialization. For those who don't know, I do a lot of the design work. Crafting is one of the things I just barely touch at, and will adjust a thing here or two if it feels like something's really broken based on metrics or player feedback. That is almost completely owned by Beezus, so you guys should hit him up. You can message him in the forums. I think he'll answer there. He does not get on Discord much, which is probably why he gets so much stuff done, is because he doesn't get on Discord much and does less communicating with the community versus me and Star. Bam. All right, less than 3,000 to go to the next stretch goal. Whoa. And let's see. Got a question here. How is Bob the Builder doing? Did he recover from his fall? Bob is doing well. I haven't had lunch with him, but I've been keeping up with him on Facebook. And Bob is doing well, and I don't think he has any lingering side effects. He certainly hasn't mentioned any, but Bob's kind of a tough guy. So he probably wouldn't tell me if he was, but he seems to be doing well, and his Facebook is getting back to normal in terms of getting out and doing stuff. So go Bob. Let's see. That was from Rufus. So thank you, Rufus, for caring about Bob's health. Let's see. Baragon, can we please make crafting stations usable as pot decorations? Yeah, actually, I'm kind of surprised that they aren't already. I will do that one in red and make that into a jig. I'm not sure of any reason why there's not. Those aren't out there as pot option. But I'm marking that right now to turn into a Jira. And that is also pretty much a checkbox we have to check. That's pretty much all it is, so it should be easy. Can you please make the experience pools adventurer and producer shared between avatars on the same account like Virtues and the Bank are? That's kind of an interesting idea. So you could actually like power level your twink, your alternate character, with your main character. That would definitely trivialize advancement on the second character. You know, you'd log in with millions of experience points in your pool or whatever if your alt is a really high level. Yeah, that's actually an interesting idea. I'll think about that one. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's some people that would not want that. But interesting idea. Let's see. I'm reading through the questions here again. Zombie Apocalypse Edition with just Chris in the office and my sidekick Sarah, who needs to shave. Actually, I'm gonna do, since this is supposed to be an hour-long stream, only an hour-long stream, although I'll probably go over. I'm gonna jump into showing off a few things here if I can. So give me 1 minute. This is, whoops. Give me 1 minute. Playing the game, playing the game. Na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Still playing the game. So I'm going to show off, I actually, for the first time in a long time, put down a player house in a town. I actually took over the spot. I wasn't going to go into a player-owned town. I was going to take one in a normal town. But it turned out that our old buddy Barrick still had a city lot in a town. So I went ahead and replaced him as the dev in Ordinus Mortis, which I don't even know who is the owner of. Waiting for it. Okay, let's see if I can get this going here. Oh, and it's Minerva's the owner, of course. Duh. Let's see if I can figure this out. Okay, guys, pray for me. That's not it. There we go. Ha! Is that working? I think that's good now. Oh, I got the live stream questions up here. Hold on. Okay, I think I got to do that. Now are we good? Nope. How about that? Nope. Still no. Hold on, let me try that. There we go. Now we got it. All right. Yeah, I'm used to just coming into these things and Star or Sarah does all the clicking and button mashing to get all this stuff set up. So, and yes, poor Barrick is homeless for Christmas because I kicked him out of his spot. For those who want to come to this lovely town or come here already, let me give you the view. You don't get to see that much. Although you can get something similar to this now that there's jump potions in the game. Oh, tall tree. So in this town, of course, over there's where the boat will bring you in. Here's kind of the main layout for the town. And then this hideous obsidian castle thing here is my place. And I'm just calling it hideous because I know Envy is watching. I know he has one of these that he uses. So, but anyways, I'm over in the corner here because it takes up a lot of space. And let's see. I do not want it to rain on me, so I'm going to turn off the weather because I'm a dev and I can do these things. Somehow I couldn't stop the zombie apocalypse. Come on, rain. Stop. There we go. Okay. There's my dungeon, or my little castle here. So first I want to show off, for those who have not seen some of the fish stuff, I put a couple of the fish down here. This is the lava fish. I think most players who are in game and know someone who's cool has already seen this because I've been to their house. Here's the other guy. This is the Dunkless Deuce, and I think this is the Mosasaurus. So In case you're wondering about the size, I think that's about as big as they get. There may be one size bigger than that. And then here's the other one. I saw some people talking about this guy, the Ammonite trophy. This is the one that goes on the wall. I think it's actually really cool looking. It's got a little smoke effect on it. Mine does not have information on it. Normally you'd see like who caught it and all that jazz, but I cheated. I did not catch my fish myself. I just created it out of thin air. But I put my house together. First thing I put down was, I haven't really done the deco, but I want to put down some of the player portraits. For those players who are new to the game and don't know, we actually have a number of artists in the community who do some amazing work. And if you commission some of those guys, we will slam them in game for you. And I think these are Leo Storm and oh my God, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. Not Scotty. But anyways, these are some examples. Oh, I still need to get an update on. Oh, you know what? This is actually the one they had Dennis Lubay. They commissioned for Scotty. They did a Kickstarter and got an actual Dennis Lubay done for him. That I have it up high enough so you can't actually see the picture very well. But it turned out amazing. And then also for the people who did Kickstarters, I made a cool frame for him, which Scotty saw the cool frame. I say it's cool. And said that is hideous. And so Scotty is going to make his own custom frame for his picture. Because that's what you can do if you're an artist. But anyways, these are some examples of paintings that people had commissioned. This is Crazy Tika. This is Lord Sarion. Of course, Scotty Cakes. For those who don't know, that's what Scotty's nickname is for pretty much forever, because Scott Jones in past life was also a pastry chef. So we got a nickname of Scotty Cakes. Uh-oh, there's people here. Someone's harassing me. A very small person. This is, of course, Lady Minerva. Lord Dieter von Pasker. Let's see. Over here we have Rufus, always on the stream. Here's Frank, the Master of the Mint, of course. And then we also have a second Master of the Mint because he's cool and wanted two. And then over here we have the amazing Catherine Rose. I need some lighting back here. I need to install some light mechanics or some lighting fixtures. William, and I think William's the last one. I think I had a couple up here of Shooter, but people made me take them down. Let's see. So anyway, so that was my quick tour of the fish and the paintings. Again, those are things you can get a painting done for yourself. If you want to contact either of those guys, or just post in the forums and people can point you in the right direction and get a Dennis Lubay done for you, or Leo or somebody else. And let's see. Now I'm going to go into my dungeon. So this is actually, I'm showing this off. I always show a little dungeon stuff. This is a dungeon entrance hall that List Rostov made, Travis List Corpor. This is actually the entry hall. This is one that trying to figure out balance and ways to make some of these things interesting just for fun. So this is a huge entry room here. I'll jump on the wagon when it comes around again, the cart. One thing to keep in mind, though, is the decoration space for this is not everywhere. It's just on these little platforms, maybe right around some of the entrances. Come on, cart. And this is, I found the cheatingest way to get into the cart is to, oh no, oh no, what? All right, I'm not gonna get in the cart. I'm just gonna cheat. All right. Anyways, you can pretend we're in the cart. Choo-choo, chugga-chugga, choo-choo. So this space is huge, although, again, there's only a few places you can actually put decos in it. But it's kind of fun for just to hang out or like a PvP tournament. I can even imagine people like PvP tournament, and you must stay down in the pit. You're not allowed up on the outside part. But it also has a little fishing pond down here that actually people can fish in. You can check that out. And this one has 5 exits from. But this is another one of another example of some cool things we can do with dungeons. Just in terms of this was just a starting room, but we have tested to make sure this tech works, like the cart. And get in that cart. There we go. Oh, what? No! Ah, so hard. And it's funny because I always laugh because people come down here and they. There we go. Woo! Yeah, they always have trouble getting into the cart, and I laugh at them, and then I keep laughing, and then I have trouble when I try to do it. But anyways, I'm going to get off the cart now that you've kind of seen what that looks like. Haha. To show off, this is something, I forget if we delivered these or not, but here is the last, I think it's the last stretch goal we had. From last time, that was the fishing grotto, the cave fishing grotto. So this is a room that you can place down anywhere in your dungeon. It's a fishing grotto inside your own dungeon. You never have to leave your dungeon and do your own fishing. So you guys can have your own private fishing while you're drinking in your dungeon. But I don't even know if we put this piece live. We probably will soon. Again, this is a little bit of a technology prove and also balance prove out thing. It looks really cool. That's kind of always our goal. Is if we have something, because we'll probably sell this full size version of this only in the store and not have it drop in game. And that's kind of the model that we have and want to keep, which is we don't sell power, but we always sell visual coolness. So again, this one doesn't it doesn't have more deco spaces than the other ones. It's just that it looks cool. It's laid out and stretched out, and actually in a way it's kind of far less convenient than the other ones, but it's just kind of cool for fun type stuff. But again, does not have more deco spaces. This one does have 5 connectors. So it does have 5 places to connect. And List has done the verification that if you're really good, you can open a connection here and build your dungeon and connect to the other side. For those who haven't tried dungeons this release, we fixed a number of bugs. I think there's still at least a couple open that are annoying some people. But we did fix most of the bugs with the not lined up and not synced up exactly right with other pieces. So you can, in most cases, you can do the full, build the giant maze and connect it back together on the other side. You can see down here is another exit. Let's see. All right, and as always, I'm talking too much, not asking enough or reading enough questions, and I'm not showing off the stuff I want to show off, which I'll go to the next thing, do a quick tour of the Swamp remake.
Some people are asking if there will be mining nodes in Play Around Dungeons.
So that is one thing that's planned, and it'll probably be a similar mechanic to the encounters, which is having mining nodes in the dungeons. Most likely, we're still working on the design so that it feels fair, and it's not just going to be, I made my dungeon that's 400 interconnected rooms with each one having a mining, ore node in it or something, and you just walk from node to node to node to node. It'll most likely be that there will be ore nodes, but they'll be part of an encounter room, and we'll have them in there where they make sense. List and I are both working on dungeons for this release, and that's one of the things we're keeping in mind when we're working on dungeons right now, is trying to make sure that we're paying attention to player-owned dungeons, so that when we build a room in the dungeon, we're thinking about it, how can we pull this out, make it into a player-owned dungeon room, player-made dungeon room, So we can have the blueprint then drop there, and then again, that's one of the big things we're doing to incentivize exploring and going to some other scenes is having blueprints drop there. If you really like a scene, go explore there and you'll find a blueprint so you can build it yourself. So this is the Mysterious Swamp. For those people who are curious, I actually renamed it I actually named it the Fire Swamp briefly. Then it was the Mysterious Fire Swamp. And then I got yelled at by Sanyo because there's apparently a lot of dialogue that refers to the Mysterious Swamp, and now the name's mismatched. So at least for this release, it's been named back to Mysterious Swamp, not Mysterious Fire Swamp. And yes, with the Mysterious Fire Swamp, we'd have to have the rodents of unusual size come up in them. So this was a scene that had been around for a while. It was using old, not good water. This is slightly better water. It's not great water, but it's slightly better. I was also using a lot of old tree models. I came back and redid all the tree models. The terrain in the scene was also using the old terrain shader. Skeletor's invited me. Sure, I'll accept. And the creatures in here were basically weak enough so there was no point anybody coming here because it's a scene that is on the Hidden Veil that was very low tier, and that's kind of by the time you get to the Hidden Veil, that's outside the main storyline, and it's intended to be high tier content over there, more challenging content, more dangerous stuff. So we reworked it to. I'm not going to contribute to this party, by the way, if you guys are watching this. Yeah, so players, it wasn't getting anyone coming to it, and it was also just such an ugly scene. So I came back and I reworked it. I redid the terrain, redid the water, redid some of the VFX. It was using some old school fog effects, and populated it with things that felt like they should be living in a swamp, like giant mushrooms. For those who have been here a little bit, but not a lot, if you know there's some special mushrooms that are in the fall that are the power-up mushrooms that I forget what they're called, but like Hulk effect and some other effects, uncontrollable power and some magic resist buff and some other things. Those mushrooms actually spawn here in the Mysterious Swamp as well. There's only usually 2 or 3 out at any given time, and they're hard to see because there's also a lot of the static non-creature mushrooms. But if you see some of those little mushrooms, make sure and take care of them, kill them. They die in one shot, and they'll give you a huge buff. But that's one of those things I thought would be a fun effect, because they're only 3-minute effects, I think, and you can come over here and get something that gives you plus 200 to every magic resist, and then go try and take the Kobold guys. But let's see, let me do some cheating. And come up high so we can show off stuff. This is one of the things I really liked about this scene is it's really small. So I can make the spawns in it really dense. My goal when I'm making a high tier scene like this is that players will never have to stop and wait for something to spawn. They may have to run a few steps, 10, 15 seconds, but they'll always find something that is challenging to kill that gives decent rewards. So this scene was small, which made that pretty easy. That I crammed about 180 or so creatures into this small space. You can pretty much see the border there. It's only about 300 meters across visually. So again, lots and lots of creatures. You can see it looks like somebody died here. Lots of creatures, lots of danger, but lots of rewards. And if you want to have non-stop stuff to kill, this is a place to come. You can always, within 15 seconds or so, run and get somewhere where there's new spawns, unless somebody's cleared them out, which may be what happened over here. But there's also, I broke it up into quadrants. This section down here has got slimes and trees in it, which it looks like people have killed. And then there's lots of gators and boars, which it looks like people have killed. Oh, probably that slime killed it. But anyways, these are some high tier things. These are some of the slimes hit for 200, 300 points of damage with non-criticals. Giant crocodiles. Crocodiles can't hurt me. because I cheat. Lots of little confusion zones and special things going on. But the main center point, oh, I guess there's one more corner to show up here. There's an undead corner in the other far side, like I guess the southwest corner. This would be the northwest corner. I have no idea what that sound is. But I tried to make sure each corner, like there was something interesting over here. This was actually some rarely seen creatures, some hacked watcher bots, with the idea that this section over here is all Kobold related and Kobold tech. As you can see, there's a Kobold Grenadier and some gunners, in addition to the hacked watchers. Let's see. And you can see this guy over here, Skeletor's getting hurt. These are actually some pretty challenging or creatures. I forget the exact numbers on those guys, but they're in the 10,000 hit point range. Yeah, 12,000 hit point range, and can hit for quite a bit with lightning damage. And of course, things with ranged weapons are always tougher because they don't have to chase you as much. But anyways, the main focus of the swamp that I wanted to do was I was trying to get, as each and every release, I'm trying to get at least one new item in our toolkit or things we can use to make boss battles more interesting and make things more challenging. So for this release, my plan was this Kobold Fortress, which fortunately they have not wiped out yet. So I cleared the spot and put down this Kobold Fortress, which is actually a Kobold city house. I'm going to go ahead and do ghost mode here so I can actually talk without these guys standing around beating on me. But, so I took the Kobold city house, and I actually had to scale it up a little bit. So this is actually a Kobold city house scaled up by about 20%. And that was mainly the reason to do it is, one, to make it feel a little bigger, a little more impressive, but also so these guys right here, these giant robot monkeys, could fit through the front door. So one of the new mechanics, well, one thing I was trying out with this one is cramming a ton of creatures into a tight space, although it looks like somebody came through and killed them all so that I couldn't have a good demo. Thanks a lot, guys. It looks like they skipped the monkeys at the front, but I can go down here and use this to show off the new thing that is a cool new feature that's going to be in the toolkit for us to use that gives us lots of options. Which is, this is an example of it. I put it down here, but it's called this one's called Kobold Energy Transmission Device. Now, what it actually does is apply an area effect. It's a creature that spawns. Effectively, it's a creature that spawns. You can attack it, kill it, that applies some type of crazy buff to everything, all the enemies nearby, not players, but all the enemies nearby. So the cool thing about this, you can see this one is Kobold Physical Resistance Energy Surge. Gives plus 200 damage resistance and plus 25 maximum damage resistance. Basically makes things absorb a lot of physical damage. There's another one that is a magic resistance. There's another one that is strength, and then I forget what the other one is. But the idea is, with those set up, I can then use them to spawn these things and have it pick one at random and build up a library of these things, and then it can change how the fight feels each time you go in. Is if you come here and this is a physical one, then how you might fight it might be different if you come here and it's a magic resist one, because a magic resist one is like plus 200. Oh, the other one is a heal. I think it heals 100 plus 100 hit points a second. Heal rate is what the other one is. So then it also brings up, so one, it gives the interesting thing that the mechanic, how to fight them, might change a little bit each time you come, because it all depends on how these things randomly spawn into their locations. Then the other part is, let's see if Elwyn Moon can get by there. Nope, he's going to die. Well, looks like he's still alive right now. I saw it hit him for a couple hundred points there, though. Let's see. Yep, he's still alive in there. Run, Elwyn. Nope, he's dead. But anyways, so these Kobold things, it gives us a way to change fights and have them change up randomly. So every time you come here, the fight will be a little bit different, because how you fight these guys, if they have high magic resist versus high strength buff versus crazy fast healing rate is one thing. Then the other option it gives you is then you can choose, do you want to, I'm going to resurrect him here. There we go. Resurrect him right on top of the monkey. Run! Run, stupid! But anyway, so these give us the mechanic where you get a different combat, even though we've got the same two big boss guys there. How they fight will be different depending on what's here. Because there's another one that's rage. And then the other thing is, if it ends up being something that is too annoying, you can split up the fight where all you do is kite the creatures or have people tank them, and then have everybody focus their damage on the energy transmission device so that you can take it down and knock out the buff generator. So that was the new mechanic here, and again, I created 4 buffs for it, but I'm going to be creating some more, and again, these can be randomized. They are here, so what type spawns in each place is different every time you come here. So it creates a little bit different fight mechanic. And then, oh, and I'm supposed to be doing a drawing here. I'm horrible at this stuff. Let me see if there's a new, yep, new winners are up there. We'll do the drawing here for prizing in just a second. Again, Zombie Apocalypse. Oh, come on. No, don't do that. 1 second, everybody. You can't see me, but I'm clicking around madly on the screen. But again, let me come in here and go up the stairs. I lost track of where I was. I went the wrong way. Oh, there we go. So again, the final chamber here, there's actually 2 of them. So these are giving, this one is giving plus 50% weapon damage. That's quite a bit. Plus 200 strength and plus 5 move speed. And then the second one is given plus 100. So this fight is, there's no magic resist, but it's going to be painful if all you're doing is trying to fight them tank-wise. As those who are really into this scene, after the fix-up I did not get new loot in for these guys. They have really good loot. And there's actually some dungeon recipes that I added to their loot bundle. I actually added them to all supply bundles, but this guy has a good chance of dropping a legendary bundle, which is incredibly rare. I'm not sure it's anywhere else in the game. And then there's good chances of other really good drops off some of these other elite kobolds. But again, that was kind of the new fight mechanic, was not making a new boss mechanic, but making a new feature that changes how these things work. So like I can change up any fight by adding these type things. And again, I put this one as a kobold energy device, but the same thing can be true whether I make it like a glowing rock or something else that I mix into an undead area, or maybe like a crypt, a big tomb or something that you have to go and destroy the tomb that is applying a buff to all the undead around them. And again, it gives us an easy way that we can randomize it, so the fight is actually different depending on which one of these guys is around. And again, you can see these things are not trivial to kill, so I sit here hammering on it and not moving its health hardly at all. But anyway, so this scene, if you haven't been here and you're under level probably 100, you probably do not want to come here because you will most likely die a sudden, very quick death. Looks like some people are out here fighting, trying to take these guys out, but even just these outside guys are pretty tough. There's AJ, Alexander John, who's one of the more powerful players in the game. Not just more powerful, but more skillful players in the game. Over here trying to take out the Kakongs. And again, another thing I do when I build these things is I looked at the map and I tried to make sure I had a space for actual combat to occur. That was somewhat interesting. So this space did have like tons of big rocks that like, oh, we'll just go stand on the rocks or kite them around the rocks over and over again. I tried to clear out a big space so that these guys could have a real fight. And the other thing we'll see, I'm not sure if they figured it out. It looks like they have, is if you can pull these Kakongs. Here's the dev spoiler. I set up the leashing distance such that you can pull most things. If you're outside, you can pull them far enough away from the kobold energy transmission device so that it no longer gives them a buff. So anyways, that's kind of the quick rundown here. Looks like AJ's probably going to wrap these guys up here in a minute. And as I point out, this is a crazy, crazy hard scene and set of fights. That means that it will just take AJ a little longer to solo them, most likely. Looks like he's got some help now, though. But anyway, so I'm going to bail out of here and go back to the game because we have some prizing to do. Surprised you guys aren't screaming about it.
Well, they have been.
Oh, they have been? Okay, well, I haven't been watching. So it hasn't bothered me at all. Let's see. So, are we ready to do some prizing? Let me get this back to... Yes. We are back here. Let's see. About 2,500 away from the Black Ice staff and wand. And I think we are ready to do a prizing. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah's going to come... Zombie Sarah's going to come read out the prizes for me.
All right. We have ice building blocks, 110 pack, digital. I guess they're not real ice blocks.
Not real ice blocks.
Go to Concord. 2018 Yule Tree goes to Sinash Cassigal. 2018 Snowman Mask with Mustache goes to Zithro. 2018 Snow Family goes to Zorn. Replenishing Fireworks Mega Set goes to Star-Lord, assuming he can pull himself together. Winter Recurring Mega Set goes to Harry High Pants, and 2018 Winter Rares Mega Set goes to Light Tiger Hernandez.
Light Tiger. Light Tiger? Light Tiger. His names always confuse me. I don't know how to pronounce him. So officially the stream is supposed to be over here. I did want to say congratulations to the winners. And let's see. Remember this one, because we have this crazy holiday thing, we had to move some streams around. The last stretch goals were only like 3 weeks or something. And then this one goes for, I think it goes for another 3 weeks after this. So if you are wanting to get to that icy dungeon room with fishing spot, you do need to get busy, but you still have several weeks to do it. So several weeks left on this stretch goal. We're at 72. We'll probably make that 75 by tonight. Definitely by the end of the weekend. And then I think we got 3 more sessions after that. So pace yourselves. But do go purchase stuff. Send us a Christmas bonus. Let's see. Did I forget anything else? We're counting down. I forget how many, but about 34 of the signed, numbered boxes left. And those do get shipped out almost immediately when they are purchased. We are still working on some of the European boxes and a few of the boxes with signed goods, which unfortunately are some of the bigger backers who got missed in the first round. A lot of them got done, but Richard is going to be in the office in a little over a week to finish up the signatures and putting those together, and we'll get them out to you. And you can also know that Richard's hand has been all over them, so you can do your, if you want to, you can try and find his DNA on there and see if you can clone Richard. Let's see. I see someone asking, Babanza28, how many jurors do you have on your plate? I have as many as I want to because I try to delegate jurors. I try to delegate tasks out to the other engineers. We've got an amazing staff of engineers. Every one of them is among the 10 best engineers I've worked with in my 30 years in the industry, and I would work with again without question. It's rare that I've been at a job, never I've been at a job where I could say that I had zero doubts in any of my guys, but I do try to assign them out. So I do keep my jurors fairly low is where that question came from. Let's see. Patterns for pets summon skins. Oh, that's an interesting idea. We do get the occasional, can we dye our pets? Question. That's kind of along the same line as, but yeah, that's one of those things that we might be able to do. Patterns for pets. I wonder how they want to change them. I do kind of like the idea of dyeing your pets. So you can dye your pet bear or your pig or whatever. Let's see. Let me crawl back through. I'm going to answer a few more questions, and then I am going to skedaddle before the zombies get here. Let's see. Got any good ones there?
Oh, I really Entered a few already.
Let's see. I already mentioned Bramble. Again, I mentioned Bramble in that we're going back and giving a lot of maps love. Between me and Sanyo and List and a few others, we're trying to hit as many as we can each release, but we're kind of hitting the most pitiful ones first. As I mentioned, Bramble does need a little love, but it's not on the pitiful list, and it's kind of, I think a lot of people don't even know which ones are bad because they never go there. The maps that people like request improvements for, like Bramble, are because it's a pretty good map that has a lot of potential, but it just needs a little bit of love. So we will be getting to those, but they may be lower on the list. Probably another thing I should do, since I'm Mr. Metrics and data mining guy, is go and look and see where players are spending time, and then go examine those maps to see what improvements I can make so we can get the most for people who are in game and mix those in a little bit. Any plans on a rework for Resist in the future? I'm actually, the resistance curve is going to be getting a little bit of love, and it's really the attunement to resistance. But as always now, when I do any changes like that, that's going to be a game-wide effect. It will happen over many releases, and it will be very subtle. For those who haven't heard me give this talk before, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and this is really more like 3 or 4 releases ago, when I made balance changes, I would make it whatever it is, ignore all of what it is, look at where I thought it should be based on everything in the game, and then make that change, no matter how big. And of course, so often it was a dramatic swing in one way or the other that sent players screaming for my head. And I've tried to stop doing that, and instead I am very gently nudging a lot of things each release in one direction or another, trying to make sure balance gets there. Sometimes that means nudging some things down and nudging other stuff up, like so they meet in the middle. Again, Bludgeon's a great example of this, which is every release I've been adjusting Bludgeon a little bit to make it better. And Ranged as well. One of those subtle nudges that came up this release, which is really more for the high-end players who are really trying to min-max things and want to be competitive both in PvE and also in PvP with Bludgeon or with Ranged, is making the free attack charge faster. Quick story, and then I'll probably cut off and head out before the zombies invade. But the plan was free attack would always be better than normal attacks, but there's been a bug in there forever that lets you basically overlap your auto attack. If you're doing auto attack, you can get extra attacks in because it'll let you overlap with casting, doing other things. That was never intended. You shouldn't have been able to have an auto attack when you start doing one thing. It should have stopped the other. You couldn't do the other until the auto attack hit. But it was letting you overlap. So it makes auto attack way better because you can mix auto attacks and skills together much more tightly than you could mix free attack and other skills together. So that's a bug and unintended, but it's actually playing with it. It's actually fun, and it would be one of those things that I hate being a killjoy and taking away something that is fun. So it has increased the DPS of what we expect, but it greatly increased the DPS of auto attack versus free attack. So free attack was always supposed to be the skillful attack. For those who don't know, that's if you hit T and toggle off your auto attack or whatever key you have assigned to, you'll be in free attack. And that is if you left click and hold down, it charges up the attack. So what that lets you do is you can click and hold for a bit and then let go, and click and hold a bit and let go, and it builds up a much bigger attack depending on the weapon type. And this is one that is very dependent upon the weapon type, because how many ticks it can charge up is defined by the weapon. Bigger, slower weapons, like, say, bludgeon, like big two-handed hammers, or archers that, ranged weapons that have, like, a big, you imagine, like, pulling back a bow, and it feels like it makes sense. You really pull back. And if you spend more time pulling back, then you get bigger hits than doing the little... So those do well with free attack, but free attack was pretty weak. So the thing that changed this release is the charge time on the free attacks increased dramatically. So it cut about a third of the time off it, so it charges significantly faster, and you can get in more big hits, which can be really important, especially in PvP, because fewer big hits are always more desirable than a bunch of small hits. But anyways, that was on the topic of balance is why I was mentioning that, because that is one of the small things I did this release to nudge it, is I continue to try to nudge bludgeon and ranged up, possibly push pole arms down a little bit, but not a ton. And again, continuing to make blades kind of the middle thing that I'm shooting for, which I right now my belief is pole arms are crazy, and blades are high but acceptable, and then ranged is kind of a different. It's kind of almost physical spells in a way, and how it behaves, and then bludgeon. So it's again. Oh, I'll mention another thing on the bludgeons. Another thing that's going to happen with bludgeons is many people didn't notice this. Again, it was kind of a high experience, high tier. Only a few people noticed it. But a while back, 2 or 3 releases ago, I changed roots to be, rather than they were binary. They were either 0, you aren't rooted; 1, you are rooted. So this actually became a number. So if you had any amount of root, 0.5, 0.2, you were rooted until that expired. But the thing is, it made it easier to break out of the root if you had a low number. More powerful roots would be up, it could be 1.5, 2 point whatever, and those are more difficult to break through various mechanisms. So another one that's coming online for bludgeons that will help redefine it as the crowd control stunning weapon group is the stun is going to be moving to that same system. Right now, stun is 0 or 1, and if you can break it, you can break it. So that's going to be getting an update, so that'll be more again on the sliding scale. So what that means is things that are kind of the default stun type stuff will probably be around a 1. Things that are more powerful stuns in the bludgeon group, they'll probably have higher numbers on them, 1.5 or so, or 2, or I'll see how the math works out, but they'll be much more difficult to break out of, so you'll have more opportunities for stun. Another one that's been on my long list of things that has to be redone, but it's scary one to touch, is the crowd control resistance and reworking that system. I do hope to get that in there in the not too terribly distant future, because yes, it's super clunky, the existing system that's in there. But again, it's one of those things I hate changing, things that players have grown so used to over time. But that is one that I feel needs some serious love. But stuns will come in first, and then I'll probably follow that up. And I'm going to try to get the stun change in for R62 so that bludgeons can get, again, a small nudge upward in terms of their effectiveness. And while you guys see this and I know are impatient, really the goal is, as I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Envy's question about when are we going to do another advertising campaign. That's, again, we're hoping to do another big advertising push, fix some of the massive problems that keep our bounce rate really high from when players come to our webpage to actually trying the game, and then do a big advertising push towards the end of February. And I want to make sure some of these things, a new player coming in towards the end of February is looking at the game and not noticing the balance issues. You guys will probably be screaming every release as I move things around a little bit, but again, trying to nudge it to the right spot so it all gets perfect by February. But anyways, I've talked entirely too long. I will continue working on all these things for you guys. Glad to come in here today. Last Friday, I owed this one to Star. Star is, of course, out of town on vacation, as is Richard. But last week I had the raccoon invasion in my house. We actually had in our house, in our attic, there were raccoons, ring-tailed cats, and rats. They were all waging war. The good news is the ring-tailed cats apparently killed and chased out all the rats. And if you don't know what a ring-tailed cat is, you should probably Google it. It does not look like a cat. It looks like a raccoon-cat crazy hybrid thing. It's unbelievable that those things live in Texas. No one ever sees them. They're super, they're nocturnal, and they're just really hard to spot. I've seen 2 in my entire time, 50 years in Texas. But anyway, so that's why I was out last week. Sorry to have to do that from home. And then, of course, my plan was, well, Richard's going to be on Skype. And we have trouble doing 2-person Skype with the software we use. So I was just, well, no problem. I'll just connect on the robot and I'll come stand behind Star on the robot. Except as people saw that the robot kept dying on us. Not sure why. Richard said he never has that problem, but apparently does not like me. But anyway, so glad to be back in the office for this one. And can we get a ring-tailed cat pet? Man, I wish we could. That will be hard to get that prioritized over more creatures in the game. It's the type of thing that if someone found a ring-tailed cat model in the Turbo Squid or Unreal Store or Unity Store or something where we can go and get them, that'd be great, but it's kind of a rare creature. We will be getting some more creatures into game first, but yeah, ring-tailed cat, even though it has a place in my heart, it will probably not make the priority list.
Yeah, he suggested that a while back. I thought it was great.
Oh, mimic ornodes, yeah. That's from Echondis. Is it Echondis? Ehondis? Again, I never know on these names. We just always mispronounce them. Not a question, but I like the idea. Mimic ornodes. Yeah, I like that idea too. That's really cool. And that is one of those things. Oh, we'd love to. That's again, as we talk about making people scream. When we make big changes, that's one of those groups that will scream louder than any other group, which is the miners. Anytime we change a mine in any way, like we'll just move an ore node or change it so like the spawn moves around and they lose their mines. I, of course, get blamed for this, but I have not been the one to make any of those changes. But I do try and track down and make sure that there is some sanity going on those things. So sorry if you disagree with what is saying, but it is one of those things. I'd love to have those mimic ore nodes in there attacking people. We can make like an extra rich mine, so the nodes are extra rich, but then some of them are mimics. That'd be good. I like that. Let's see. Oh, hold on a second here. I think I just did a thing. Let me. Okay, there we go. I'm back now. But anyways, I guess I'll probably wrap it up here. You guys have about 2,300 to get to the Black Ice Staff and Wand. So go spend some money in the store. Go buy a dungeon entrance or some dungeon pieces. I'm, of course, fond of dungeons. Still shooting for getting a few small improvements for the dungeons for R62. They will not have encounters yet in R62. But I do hope we can get the toggle between play mode and decorate mode, which will remove the little blue hammers and also will make pets work throughout the entire dungeon. And that is the getting the nav mesh generation thing actually tested and checked in a way that does not make your computer blow up. But hopefully we will get that in for R62. We do have, even though it's a long release, we got a pretty good break for people here. We were long overdue for a good break like this. But we'll see what we can get in. I think we can get that in. We will not get encounters in for R62. But we are designing on those encounters and working on them. List and I, if you think I'm passionate about dungeon stuff, List is 10 times as passionate about dungeon stuff. And I probably should stop. I'm like 20 minutes over. What am I doing? Staff rework. Yes, staffs are long overdue for rework. I actually put a staff artifact in the game recently. It's on the spider drop, the mama spider boss. Let's see. And let's see. La-di-da-di-da. I guess I'll probably stop here, but I just want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. Hope everything was great over your holidays, whatever you call your holidays. And yes, in case people were wondering, it is pretty cold in the office. I looked a little while ago. It was 64 because there's nobody up here, and apparently our body heat is the only thing that keeps us warm. I'll keep people updated on the server move, but you can look forward to a rare 4-hour downtime at some point mid-January. Hopefully mid-January. Hopefully not too late January, but hopefully mid-January. And other than that, we will see you in the new year. The office will be full on Wednesday. Wednesday is when people come back. I will not be here until Thursday, but Wednesday, and you can get back to stand-up notes on Wednesday. Got anything else? Sarah, you got anything?
I've got nothing.
All right. You guys have a great holiday, and I will see you next time. I will maybe somewhere along here I'll fit in a window so I can go in and just do nothing but answer questions for you guys. It's not an official stream, but I haven't done a tech talk in a while. I got lots of stuff I can talk about. Lots of combat stuff, lots of tech stuff. I didn't even. I was supposed to talk about all the Unity improvements and tech stuff coming up in Unity. Oh, so many things to talk about. Okay, I'm gonna have to do a stream. I'll commit to doing an extra stream sometime in January, so I can do just an hour or 2 hours of me talking about tech stuff and combat stuff, and just try to focus on those things that I am most passionate about. Thanks, thanks everybody, and I guess I'll sign off if I can figure out how to do it. This is where we usually do the police squad thing and pretend to freeze.